Hopefully you've been practicing your night navigation skills, finding the circumpolar asterisms like Big Dipper, Cassiopeia. We're going to start to look at the sense of scale, the size of things compared to one another. We're going to first go over what these particular objects represent. We're going to fill in this chart, and then I'll guide you through how to make your guesses in these columns. So let's establish what these astronomical symbols in this column represent. The celestial object we're beginning with right here, this is actually the symbol for the sun, and the proper name of the sun is Sol, hence the solar system. That's our planetary system proper name, solar system. Nickname is sun. So when news media report that another solar system has been discovered, what they really mean to say is planetary system has been discovered. It's not likely an identical system to our solar system with the same 7.5 billion people on planet Earth, so on and so forth, exists. It's like the Kleenex tissue thing. People say planetary system, solar system interchangeably. It's really fine. Right, the next symbol down here is the symbol for Mercury, which was the Greek god Hermes, the fleet-footed messenger to the god. The wings on the helmet being represented in the symbol there. You're familiar with Hermes, or Mercury, in Roman mythology, if you know the track and field symbol, the winged foot, that is representative of Hermes, Mercury. The symbol right here shows again how the biological sciences often borrow from astronomy. We mentioned this with the zodiac star pattern of Cancer. This symbol has been come to use in biology to represent the female of any species. The Greeks had this symbol for the goddess of love, and in Greek mythology it was Aphrodite, and the Romans changed that to Venus. This is the symbol, if you remember, reflects on the zodiac wheel. This is Earth. Terra is also another common across our planet name for Earth. Symbol here is borrowed by the biological sciences for the male of any species, and when the Greeks looked up and saw this celestial body in the night sky, oftentimes it would appear slightly redder than other stars, and this of course being a planet though, and they saw the red, they thought blood, they thought war, named it in honor of the war of God, or god of war, and that would be Ares. And the Romans changed that to, as you know today, Mars. This symbol right here is kind of representing the scythe, or excuse me, the lightning bolt of the Zeus god, which is Jupiter in Roman. This one here is the one that represents a scythe, kind of a tool used to harvest grain. This is for Kronos in Greek mythology, but you know Saturn. And then we stuck to tradition when these other outer planets were discovered in the 19th century. This right here is discovered by Sir William Herschel in the 1800s, and this is the planet Uranus, which actually had a Greek and Roman connection with the name of the original sky god deity. And the one here rounding out this column on this chart, we see the trident for the king of the seas. That would be Poseidon, or in Roman mythology, Neptune. If you're wondering if Earth had a Greek and name before Roman's Earth, Earth actually is a derivative of the Old English word for dirt, which is what makes this next comic very appropriate. You humans have got a lot of nerve. This planet is 72% water, and you guys name it after dirt. Before we get into guessing size, mass, and distances here, we're going to take a little history tour of this chart. Now, this isn't a chart of planetary objects, it's celestial objects, as this indeed is a star here. But I often get people asking me, hey, how come you didn't put a column in there for Pluto? And that's the point at which I would go into this exploration into, okay, in recent history of 2006, there was a lot of media attention given to Pluto. And I have found in talking to students and adult students that very little is known about what indeed was officially occurring in 2006. I'm going to start by showing you a 6-minute or so clip from a Nova Science Now special. And it's important to bear in mind this clip is from 2003. It's a really good background into the setup of leading into the events of 2006.
Big news in the neighborhood. This is our solar system. And a couple of years ago, almost everybody would have told you that orbiting our sun, you would find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 planets. But as of this past year, we've got a 10th. Or do we?
This will absolutely rewrite the history of astronomy textbooks. There's now a 10th planet out there.
When Mike Brown and his team at Caltech announced they discovered what looked like a new planet, they did not give it a name. Names are bestowed by an international commission of scientists, so in the meantime, since they were looking at this little bright light for more than a year, they gave it a nickname.
It had no name at all, so we had to call it something, so when we talk to each other, we know what we were talking about. And so we always give things code names, nicknames, and this one we codenamed Xena.
From,
of course, the TV show Xena, Warrior Princess. Of course, Xena has a satellite, which we had no choice but to call Gabrielle, which is Xena's sidekick in the TV show.
No choice.
No choice.
But in proper scientific circles, when scientists talk about this object, they use
the very unwieldy 2003 UB313.
And it will stay 2003 UB313 until the International Astronomical Union officially decides that this is indeed a planet, which, by the way, they have not done. They're not even close.
We're in committee limbo, international committee limbo, which is about the worst possible place you could imagine being.
But what exactly is the problem? It looks like a planet. I mean, it's round. Planets are round.
Nothing's really round. The Earth has got a bulge in it, and Saturn is actually quite squashed.
Okay, but Xena's round enough, and it's got a moon, which is very planet-like, and it orbits the sun. But it turns out this matter is still debatable because there's no precise scientific definition for planet. And there hasn't been one for a long time.
Did you know that in 1801, a new planet was discovered orbiting between Mars and Jupiter?
Neil deGrasse Tyson is director of New York's Hayden Planetarium.
They called it Ceres. And then they looked some more, they found another planet. And another, and another. The count of planets in the early 1800s was greater than it is today. 13 planets in the solar system. And they kept looking, and the numbers kept growing, and they were running out of names. And they realized, rather than counting new planets, they had discovered a new swath of real estate in the solar system called the asteroid belt.
So Ceres became an unplanet and was redesignated to a new class, and it became the biggest asteroid.
So we've been there before. We know how to demote something.
And that's exactly what he did to Pluto. When the Hayden Planetarium reopened in 2000, Neil Tyson decided to de-planetize Pluto. In our opinion, he said, Pluto is now an icy object that's different from the other planets.
It's got enough ice so that if you were to take Pluto and transport it to where Earth is right now, the heat from the sun would evaporate the ice and it would grow a tail. And that's just no kind of behavior for a planet. We have words for things with tails. They're called comets.
Same for Xena, another icy body that lives in the Kuiper belt out beyond Neptune. But a lot of people simply ignored Neil Tyson and the Hayden Planetarium and stuck with the list they'd learned in school. Remember those planets in the right order: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto.
My very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas.
Martha visits every, Martha visits every Monday, must be for Mars, and just stays until noon, period. So there are two stupid things there. There's an and, which is dumb, except the and is right where the asteroid belt is. I don't know if that's an accident or not. And then I remember at the time, being in third grade, thinking that there's something funny about Pluto if it really is just a period at the end of the sentence.
Sophisticated scientists and ordinary folks can't seem to get together on this one, and Mike Brown, even though he discovered what could be the 10th planet, has this advice for the scientists.
What I favor is the give up approach, which is to say, the word planet is not scientific, and it doesn't need to be. And as astronomers, we just need to get over it.
These are the Pluto files, okay? This is hate mail that I've gotten from elementary school children, handwritten letters saying, please, Dr. Tyson, what are you doing with Pluto? What? That's our favorite planet. You are missing planet Pluto. Please make a model of it. This is what it looks like. It is a planet. Turn to the other page. A picture of Pluto. Dear Dr. Tyson, I think that Pluto is a planet for a lot of reasons, but you treat it like nothing. So if you can please leave it a planet, and if you don't, then I say it is. And have a good day.
This is what Dr. Tyson was mentioning in that clip, how the number of planets hasn't always been consistent in the course of human history. In 1930, when Clyde Tombaugh discovered Pluto, there was a lot of discussion, back and forth debate amongst the scientific community. What exactly is Pluto? Is it a planet? Is it a moon of another planet? There was never any doubt that there had been a discovery of a celestial body. Here's some of the photographic evidence. Now bear in mind, this isn't the two images that all of a sudden, oh, I've discovered something of significance out in our solar system. These are just two that are shown here for you. He had hundreds and hundreds of evidence showing the wonderful world of discovery. So here we see January 23rd, this object that he picks up on, and he looks at this 6 days later through his telescope and sees that the object is now here. Now, it's not necessarily he was looking right here on January 23rd. There wasn't an arrow in the sky saying, look here. This is more of taking images and then at other times sitting down and looking at the photographic plates and evidence that you have and noticing that, hey, this object was here and 6 days later over here. And you can use these background stars as reference. Now, 6 days for Earth is a relatively short cosmic time. Stars, you'll see, they don't move that quickly across the night sky over 6 days. So this very rapid movement, change of position over 6 days, knew this had to be some sort of celestial body that wasn't a bright luminous star. This technique is still used today to see how asteroids are discovered. So these quickly moving across the night sky items that are not stars, as the stars are so incredibly far away and massive. Definitely Pluto is a great distance away, but certainly the stars are much farther from Earth than Pluto is. But to indeed create a sense of understanding of just how far Pluto is out from planet Earth, here's the sun in the center here, and think about the revolution of the planet Pluto about our sun completing 1 year. All of U.S. history has occurred within this time frame. And since the time of discovery, Pluto hasn't yet made one complete revolution around the sun. So discovery point right here, you'll see Pluto hasn't completed one revolution since its discovery. I'm not saying it hasn't completed a full revolution around the sun, but since its discovery in 1930, it won't cycle all the way back around to here again until I think it's March of 2178. So we should have some sort of reunion, get together, celebrate the moment of Pluto's first year since we've known about Pluto being out there in our solar system. Now, where it is out there in our solar system is in the Kuiper belt. This Kuiper belt is loaded with celestial objects out here, and many times this area is also full of objects that are given an initialism of TNO, trans-Neptunian objects, things beyond Neptune. So far out in this region, one of the reasons we were able to start to explore and see many more objects in the Kuiper Belt region was the technological advancement of 1995 of the digital camera. We were able to incorporate digital photography techniques with telescopes, and this really opened up to researchers this Kuiper Belt area, just wonderful things ready for discovery. Now, going back to 1930, the great discussions about, okay, what is Pluto? Part of the discussion of what Pluto is had to do with its oddball nature, where the main planets here all are on this same plane, the same level, whereas Pluto kind of has this wampus orbital path. Here it is from a different view. So in comparison, this is how the planets in our solar system revolve around our sun. Then you have this very wampus path. Sometimes people say they're upset because there's not the 9th planet anymore. Well, just to be ultra picky on that, Pluto's not always, if you counted from the Sun, 1st planet Mercury, 2nd Venus, 3rd Earth, and so on. Pluto isn't always the 9th planet. Sometimes it crosses over here into an orbital path in front of, relative to front and back here, in front of Neptune, which might lead you to question if there'd ever be this celestial object collisions. And this graphic will show you definitely not. So in this red rectangle, in this matching time period of 1979 rectangle, you'll see that Pluto and Neptune, they're not ever near each other, that they would crash in that regard. So there's a lot of things being discovered in that Kuiper Belt region. Of particular note was Mike Brown's research team's discovery of the sometimes called 10th planet at the time, but dubbed Xena and its moon Gabrielle. There was also Dr. Tyson getting a lot of attention because there was a young boy who had visited the Hayden Planetarium that Dr. Tyson is in charge of, and he was visiting the museum with his mother, the planetarium, and he tugs on his mom saying, "I can't find Pluto." And there's a reporter from a Chicago newspaper who overhears this and follows the mother and child looking around the planetarium museum area for where Pluto is, and they find it on a lower level. So the journalist runs with the story, and then ever since then, Dr. Tyson has been this sort of scapegoat for saying that he had demoted Pluto. Well, in fact, there wasn't a demotion, as Dr. Mike Brown pointed out in the Nova Science Now clip. There has never been a definition of what a planet is. It's just been loosely interpreted as the meaning of the word planet itself, a wanderer, or wanderer of light. Now, we don't mean wanderer as if I wander my mouse around, that we're going to call my mouse a planet, but a wanderer of something in that night sky. The International Astronomical Union then recognizes that there needs to be a formal definition of what a planet is as more and more objects are being discovered. Now, with Dr. Tyson being dubbed by the media as a scapegoat, and this happened when a Chicago newspaper journalist happened to be at the Hayden Planetarium, which Dr. Tyson's the curator for, and the museum section of the planetarium. A young child was overheard by this reporter telling his mother that couldn't find Pluto. So the mother and the child go looking through the museum and find that Dr. Tyson has placed it down one level with Kuiper Belt objects. This made the headlines of several papers, and ever since then Dr. Tyson's been a scapegoat for this 2006 International Astronomical Union decision. So the IAU meets in 2006. They recognize they're meeting because there's so many things that need classification. At the end of I think it was the opening day session of the agenda portion for this, they'd come up with a definition that they had then categorized 200 objects in our solar system as planets. They recognize that this is far too many and that the definition needs to be more succinct in recognizing what makes up a planet. So they table discussion. The next day they come up with the definition and end up with 8 objects in our solar system classifying as planets. So it would have been nice if I had put the definition in here for you. I recognize that, but I wanted to make sure that we paused and gave some time to recognize the importance of this 2006 resolution, the definition of a planet, and as I said, planet originally described as wanderers. And these are the items that now are used to determine if something is called a planet. I think it's only 46 words. Think of it as, paying tribute to the hard work and dedication of the scientists who had to come up with the formal definition and then resume the process of classifying all of those objects. So I'll put up the formal definition. We're going to have you write down these items, and once you have written them down, I'll make sense of them, particularly letter B. And you have an idea of C if you think about the path of Neptune and Pluto. So let's have you jot those down, and we will resume with this Pluto discussion in our next session.